Wholeness, welcome to Notes of Nara. My name is Naja Rashida. Um, I just got back home and I realized I didn't post anything for today. Um, Took a day off work and I'm glad I did. I got a lot of very important things done I needed to get done I've been putting off. Still catching up on paperwork, which will start tomorrow. So the rest of the night is going to be easy breezy. But I wanted something, I was just like, what can I say about the inner child today? And the word innocence. Yes, innocence. Now, I don't own a television. I don't own Netflix. I don't own YouTube Premium, Apple TV, none of that. If I'm watching a movie, either I'll pay the $2-3 to watch it off of YouTube, or I bump it off somewhere. Not, I don't stream it. Not like in the early 2000s where like you would, oh gosh, what would we call that? We would stream it. We would do something. I can't remember the name. Bootleg, but like digital bootleg. Anywho, I say that to say this. I don't watch a lot of TV shows or a lot of movies per se. I thought about going to see a movie tonight, and there's just nothing, like, I don't know, for the past maybe decade, I will say Hollywood movies have just been complete, excuse my French, shit. Like, they just have been really bad. All right, 2010s, they're at their peak, like their last leg. Indie films, I think, are probably like the industry's saving grace. And like A24, they can come out with some decent stuff. But man, the quality of the movies and the production and the plot has just taken a serious dump. And they keep recycling the same actors and actresses over and over again. So I say all that to say this. Innocence. Now, I'm more of a book nerd than a TV film nerd, but I like good films, okay? Back in college, I took a cinematography. No, not cinematography. Filmography class. I don't know, the study of film and abstract thought in film and all this other stuff. The guy I was dating at the time, he was like, "Oh, you should take this class. It's so awesome." And so I took it, and it was amazing. Like, I love films and things that make you think because I love books, right? Authors that make you think. In order to make a movie, you have to have that foundation of a story, right? Before you can get the film and the actors and production and the music and the cinematography and the costumes, all of that together, you have to have a good story. Stephen King, all right? Now, Stephen King, yes, he does a lot of horror. But one thing I think that's so attractive with Stephen King's work is that he blends in fantasy with psychology, with spirituality. He blends in all these different aspects. Now, do I spend most of my free time reading Stephen King books? No. Did I when I was in my youth or much younger? Of course. I spent my teenage years and early 20s reading tons of Stephen King books, and then the TV series that would come out from time to time, right? Because the stories were good. There is a story called The Storm of the Century. Came out in 99, all right? 1999. And I think I was like in 5th or 6th grade. And my mom was always into really weird sci-fi, psychological thriller type films. Once in a blue moon, she let us watch a bit of horror. But as I've gotten older and my consciousness has expanded beyond the norm of what it once was and what I was surrounded with, I can't really stomach horror. Okay? But I love story plots that make you think and challenge your way of thinking. So, sorry, I'm a bit chatty, but there is a story that he wrote called The Storm of the Century. All right? And there's a TV series. All right, that came out in 1999, like I just said. And since it's so old, no spoiler alerts, I'm going to assume the people that watch most of my stuff, you guys range from your 20s to like maybe 60s or 70s. So it's really cool. It's for free online on YouTube. Check it out. But I'm just going to go ahead and tell you the plot, all right? Because it's pretty much, really, it's like 30-some years old now, I think. Even longer than that. But this story takes place in upper East Coast on an island. There's a big nor'easter coming in, a big storm that impacts this very small, close-knit community on this island. I mean, probably less than 1,000 people on this island. Very, very, very small community. And it's like the storm of the century, 1989, right? And with this storm, the storm not only brings in havoc and all that, but it brings in an entity. And this entity takes the form of a man. And this man is coming to this place for one thing and one thing only. So he comes alone, but he has an intention of leaving that place with something. And the something is the innocence of, not just the innocence of a child, but a child, period. This entity is dying. It is not immortal, but it terrorizes this community. Why? Because this community, as quaint and cute and quiet as it seems, harbors a lot of darkness and a lot of blame, shame, guilt, fear, jealousy, wickedness. And so, in my interpretation of this story, you have, a match where this entity's coming in because it needs something, and this town is harboring such a dark energy, dark force, that it attracts this entity to the island during this massive snowstorm where you can't leave and people can't come in, people can't leave, you're stuck. So they hunker down. After a few deaths on the island, the entity then, it finally reveals itself, reveals its nature, reveals what it wants. Towards the end, all the parents, all right, that have children on the island, I think it's maybe less than 100 people on this island. It is small, okay? So all the parents, mother and father, each couple has to choose to pretty much, for exchange for everyone else's life, they have to give this entity a child. And in exchange, this child will pretty much live for millennia, okay? He'll outlive everyone. I mean, hundreds and maybe thousands of years. Thousands of years old. But with the time that this entity has left, it's going to teach and train and guide and program this innocent child with the same wickedness that it has. Okay, so it's not going to train this child to do good in the world. It's going to corrupt this child's spirit. And so unfortunately, there's, out of everybody in the town, one parent, one father put his foot down and said, no, you cannot take our babies. You cannot take my child. You cannot take his innocence. You need to leave. We all need to stand up and stick together to protect the innocence. I know this place is wicked and I've done wicked things. Side note, the entity calls out every single one of these people and their darkness and their nasty little secrets in front of everybody. All right? He says things and confronts things that nobody has any business knowing. And so everybody knows everybody's secrets. But this father stands firm. But the whole town says, nah, son, you're going to sit down. All right. We have to tie you up, knock you out, hold you down, pin you down. That's what we're going to have to do, because as a town, that's what we're choosing to do. We are afraid of death. They were so afraid of death and so locked into this entity's illusion, right, that he created for this whole town. I mean, he went in. He hypnotized them. He stalked their dreams in the astral plane. I mean, he really went in on these people to the point where they were convinced that if they did not do his bidding, they would take all the lives of all the children, and then also cause more suffering on the adults of the town. So, at the tail end, even his wife turned her back on her husband, on her man, and said, no, I stand with the town. And he's shocked. He is shooketh. He is in disbelief that his wife has now potentially sacrificed the innocence of their child. So mind you, there's like 7 or 8 kids, okay? And they have weirding stones. I think they're called weirding stones. Weirding stones, which were used as an old method of voting in ancient Rome, okay? It's like rocks were painted white and black, and then that's how they did their voting. It was like a voting system. Correct me if I'm wrong. But he has these stones, and one's black, all are white. Right? Yeah. And so each parent pulls out one. They pinned the dad down, the one that stood up and said, no, you're not going to take the kids. Not one, not just my kid, but all of them, you're not doing it. And so they pinned his ass down. They're just like, you're not going anywhere. And then the woman, the mother, she was the last one, this dude's wife, right? She pulls the stone, opens her hand, and it's black, meaning her son. That man who fought so hard to stand on truth and to stand on business and to stand on breaking the illusion and the spell that everyone was under. That was his son that was chosen. And there's more that goes into it. It's not just a sudden thing. Like, there were indications that this man had already chosen the son, but he needed the willpower. He needed them to willingly give the child away. Because here's the thing. With entities, and I'm speaking metaphysically now, with entities and energies that are not of this realm, not of this world, okay, and if I lose you at this point, I send love and light to you. It goes over your head, and you're like, okay, I lost you. Like, where are you going? It's okay. You don't have to follow, all right? But those of you who can, hear me out. Entities, energies, even human beings, like on a metaphysical level, on the spiritual level, all right? In order for some things to take place on an energetic, metaphysical level, right? On a supernatural or esoteric level, okay? You need to willingly give it away. You remember when I talked about the soul keys? Do you remember when I talked about like the black magic and, last month when we were discussing soul? That's kind of what I'm insinuating. Like, you can't, like, when people are selling their soul, you're not selling it. You're just you're opening access. You're willingly opening the portal. You're willingly making an offer of your essence to another. That's how people can gain control. That's how people can hypnotize you. That's how people can, get in there and manipulate. And it's a very, it goes against universal law. However, it goes against universal law if the external force is trying to take without your permission. So it's like you have to, the devil made me do it. That saying in English, it's almost like the devil can't necessarily make you do anything. It's more of manipulation and, falsehoods and creating Maya, creating illusion, to distract you, to deceive you. But ultimately, it really depends on the strength of your discernment, the strength of your will, courage, faith, okay? So, back to the film, back to the story, in this TV series. So, the entity had to get the willingness, or he had to get in order to receive the offering or what he needed, they had to willingly give it to him. He had already chosen the little boy. Like, there's a couple of scenes where you're just like, why is he speaking to this boy specifically? Why is he interacting with him in such a way? And you'll see it when you watch the film. So yeah. So he ends up taking the boy, father's heartbroken, and then man, it's deep. Like, when the entity finally departs, he literally says, and now your town will be able to sleep at night, and now you'll be able to move on, and this will be nothing but a bad memory. But 10 years later, over the course of 10 years, slowly everyone pretty much suffers horribly with the guilt. Some off themselves, some people go up missing. Just it's almost like the the most darkest and demonic parts, fragmented parts of our consciousness can, in a way, eat us from the inside out if we're not mindful. That's, I think, is the manifestation of what cancer is. The illness, the sickness, it can happen to anybody, but it's the metaphysical, I think, the manifestation of what that is. When something's unchecked, it will take over and then devour, right? And that's what happened to the townspeople. Their guilt slowly devoured them bit by bit by bit. So, innocence. How does this tie into the inner child? How does this tie into innocence? The innocence of a child is something that needs to be protected at all costs. And I find that when we jeopardize that, when we when we betray ourselves. I was thinking when I went out for dinner tonight, and I was thinking back on, because I was journaling, and as I was journaling, I was thinking back about what were some of the most challenging emotional experiences that I've ever faced, right? As I was writing today, as I was journaling, and I thought back to the worst emotion or experience I could think of that really brought me down. I mean, down would be betrayal. Like, the type of betrayal that you just wouldn't, like, there's some things that trigger certain people. Like, sometimes it's jealousy that can really hurt someone, or sometimes it's unforgiveness. You know, we all have our thing that really can break us. And I would have to say, at the age of 21, you know, I experienced, or 2022, I experienced a moment of deep, deep betrayal. And I thought, like, you know, then I put kind of, you know, two and two together. Like, when it comes to, you know, that emotion and the circumstance surrounding that is completely different from what I'm tying in with the inner child, but just kind of think of that strong emotion, right, of being betrayed. And oftentimes as adults we'll betray ourselves, and when we betray ourselves, we betray the inner child, we betray the innocence within us, within ourselves. And I believe that that's taught when we're children, when we first meet the spirit of betrayal, when we are betrayed by someone that we love and we care about. And so as adults, when we don't heal that, we continue to betray ourselves. We'll do things, we'll say things, we'll agree to things, we'll do jobs, we'll get in relationships or marriages, we'll put ourselves in certain situations, all for the greater good. And that can stem into codependency issues as well, right? So you're like completely self-sacrificing, all for, you're completely betraying every fiber of your being for the sake of another person, for the sake of a situation. So I think we should do our due diligence to check in with ourselves and make sure that, you know, ask ourselves, what I'm doing with my life right now? Am I betraying my values? Am I betraying who I am? Am I, you know, do I have integrity in what I believe in? Or am I just doing it to keep people happy, to keep things at peace, and to keep the demons at bay? And sometimes you have to face those demons head on. And that, to me, isn't betraying yourself. That, to me, is accepting parts of yourself that need your attention. So sacrificing your innocence, that very there's also another movie called Howl's Moving Castle, anime. His name is Takashi something. I'm sorry, I butchered his name, but it's called Howl's Moving Castle. And it's about this magician in this world where there's a war going on between two nations, and he is a sorcerer. And in order to have his power, he has given up the innocence and light in his heart, and for exchange of power from this fire spirit or fire demon called Calcifer. And there's a scene where he's a little boy, and for exchange he coughs it up, or it comes out of his chest, and he offers it to Calcifer, and Calcifer for exchange gives him power. And we'll do that. We'll betray ourselves to receive a false sense of power, or a false sense of safety, or a false sense of comfort. And again, when I say false, it's part of the illusion, the Maya, right? So, as adults, it's our duty to practice discernment so that we don't betray ourselves. Because once you get really good at betraying yourself, you get that much better at betraying other people and making them believe the lie that you have become. And that, to me, is very dangerous, and it does you no good. It does no one any good to be around someone who is living a lie. And that's what it means. I feel like that's what it means when you don't know yourself. You don't know yourself because you're betraying yourself, because you are lying to yourself, because you don't know yourself, and you're running away from your inner truth. Inner truth, all it needs is time and patience. Truth is truth. That's it. Truth is self-realized. So I can preach to you all day about what truth is, what my truth is, but it means nothing unless you sit with it. You sit with what's inside. And you realize it. You actualize it. So betrayal and innocence, as adults, we are the gatekeeper. Our spirit is the gatekeeper to our soul. Our soul. So don't, be careful. Don't betray your spirit. Don't betray who you choose to be or to become. May this message find you well and whole. Check it out. Storm of the Century. Those of you who live in a crispy, frigid, rigid, cold climate right now, like I am. I was thinking today, I'm really missing the desert. I feel so happy and grateful to have a working car. I feel so happy and grateful to be in school. I feel so happy and grateful to have a full-time job. I feel so happy and grateful to have a growing, expanding platform to connect with people from all over the world. I feel so happy and grateful to be in good standing health. But cold climate, man. Look, I spent a good majority of my life in winter, okay? But when you get a taste of what it's like to live in a warm climate, and then you look at yourself in a cold climate, snow is pretty, it's pretty, but it's harsh. It can be rough. But so far no power outages or anything, so that's really cool. I have to say, I'm actually very, almost shocked, really, because we've had temperatures drop below zero. So let me know what you think. If, you go and you find it's called Storm of the Century, or Stephen King, Storm of the Century. It's about 4 hours long. It's a TV series, so, if you got all that time, go right ahead, or you can divvy it up. That's one Stephen King book I have not read the actual, novel yet, or book, which would be very interesting, because, they don't put everything that's in the book in the movie, but it's a powerful story. about standing your ground in the end and facing evil. Like, the evil that we all have access to, just like we have access to love. And again, the most powerful superpower that we have is choice, right? So, yeah, that's another thing. Like in the film, they're like, we have no choice. We have no choice. And I'm like, you do have a choice. You can say no. Or you can say yes. But these people were hoodwinked, befoozled, confusion, okay? Confused. Like, they were just so gone. Oh man, it's when you believe you truly have no choice, yeah, then you're stuck. You know? So, yeah, that's my video today. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.